Hello everybody, this is Guy Evans and you are listening to the Smells Like Human Spirit podcast. You can check out all of our previous episodes at smellslikehumanspirit.com and join our Facebook community at facebook.com/smellslikehumanspirit. This episode is an unedited interview that I conducted with Professor Noam Chomsky in his office at MIT on the morning of Tuesday the 20th of November 2012. Enjoy and peace. Okay, welcome everybody to episode 30 of the Smells Like Human Spirit podcast. I'm Guy Evans and I'm very grateful to be joined today by Professor Noam Chomsky. He is, as I'm sure most of you, if not all of you listening are aware, an incredibly impactful linguist, public speaker, author, and activist. So like I say, it's a great privilege to be here. Professor Chomsky, thank you, and how are you this morning?
Okay, I'm fine. My voice isn't.
Yeah.
I hope it'll carry.
Oh, I'm sure it will. So, first of all, I just want to say I've always been astounded by your sheer output as far as not only your authorship, but also your public speaking and the interviews that you do. I think it's really a testament to just how productive a human being can be in their lifetime, quite frankly. It's always amazed me how much that you do. So, just to get us started here, this has always been a point of curiosity for me. How do you manage to do so much?
By not doing other things.
Okay.
Time and energy are finite, so you decide how you're going to distribute them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are my choices.
So it's more of a case of prioritizing more than anything else, would you say?
Most of it you don't even know about, and you couldn't. So I probably spend 6 hours a day just answering email inquiries.
Really? Okay. Interesting. Well, you've made such a fabulous, contribution to so many fields, and I know a lot of our listeners will echo that as well. It would be impossible to try to reduce your work to a single theme or buzzword, but one of the themes that I've seen crop up again and again is oppression. The idea that there's the establishment are holding down the public, disabling them from achieving freedom of mind and independence and autonomy. Now, in some countries, this is very literal. There's a physical repercussions, for standing up to the state. How does oppression work in Western countries, notably the United States?
It's interesting to look at the history. The freest, for the last, say, century and a half or so, the freest countries were England and the United States. And in both countries, by about a century ago, dominant sectors, power centers, came to the realization, which was pretty explicit, in fact, and articulate, that it's becoming difficult to control people by force. They've just won too much freedom. So there were parliamentary labor parties, there were unions, women were about to get the right to vote in the U.S. 1920s, and a lot of ferment, and people were just able to become directly engaged in the political arena to an extent that hadn't been true before. And therefore, but since it was necessary to keep them under control, it was necessary to turn to other means. And the other means were the obvious ones: control of attitudes and opinions. And out of that came the huge public relations industry, which was advertising and the rest, which is an extraordinarily huge industry now, and was explicitly designed to carry out that task. So if you read the founding documents of the PR industry, for example, one of the most interesting is the book Propaganda. They used the term honestly in those days. Since the Second World War, it took on a bad connotation, so you don't use it. But they called it propaganda. The guru of the industry, Edward Bernays, was the author. He had experience. He came out of Woodrow Wilson's Committee on Public Information, which of course means disinformation, and Wilson had to drive the pacifist American public into a spirit of jingoism and fanaticism and hatred of everything German, so that they would join the war. And that was tricky. He was elected in 1916 on a pacifist program, peace without victory. He quickly had to do something to get the U.S. into the war. And this commission, the Creel Commission was dedicated to that task, and it was remarkably successful. And the people who were on it learned lessons. One of them was Bernays. Another was Walter Lippmann, who was became the leading public intellectual of the 20th century in the United States, a very distinguished figure, also a theorist of democracy. And both of them do essentially the same lesson, that, as they put it, obviously the intelligent minorities, as they call them, have to rule. That's us and our friends. And the rest of the population are, as they put it, too stupid and ignorant to be able to allow them to enter into management of public affairs. It would be like allowing a 3-year-old to cross the street and so on. So for their own benefit, we have to find ways to marginalize and control them. We have to provide them with what Reinhold Niebuhr called necessary illusions and emotionally potent oversimplifications. We have to defend ourselves from the roar and trampling of the bewildered herd, the ignorant and meddlesome outsiders. And these are all quotes, these are standard views. And it's all basically the same view. We're very benevolent, and we want to take care of the public, and they obviously can't do it themselves, or they'll get in trouble. So therefore we have to somehow marginalize them. And that's what you look at the business literature of the period, it talked about how it's necessary to focus people on the superficial things of life, like fashionable consumption. And of course, kind of atomize them, break up things. The ideal unit will end up being you and your television set or something like that. And this just then turns into a huge industry. The advertising industry itself, which is enormous, is actually quite interesting if you look at it closely. It has a very definite commitment. Its primary goal its primary involvement is commercial advertising. And incidentally, its success in commercial advertising, even by the 1920s, impressed many others. So, for example, Goebbels explicitly modeled Nazi propaganda techniques on the methods of American commercial advertising, which he realized were quite effective. But if you think of the general goal of commercial advertising, its primary goal is to undermine markets. That's never discussed this way, but if you think about it, it's pretty obvious. If you've taken an economics course, you know that markets are supposed to be based on informed consumers making rational choices. And on the basis of that assumption, you prove various nice theorems and so on and so forth. But if you turn on a television set, you see in 1 minute that the goal of advertising is to create uninformed consumers making irrational choices.
Absolutely.
And in fact, that's the obvious thrust of advertising. And it has a political significance too, overwhelmingly over the years, much more so in the United States than other countries, though it's seeping in everywhere. The electoral campaigns are being run by the advertising industry. In the United States, it's just overwhelming. Ads, framing, the way you present personalities and whole businesses designed by the advertising industry, and they know it. So, for example, after the 2008 campaign, Obama's victory in 2008, a couple of months later, the advertising industry had its annual convention, and every year they give an award for the best marketing campaign. That year they gave it to Obama. Terrific marketing campaign. Managed to delude everyone, with crazy talk,
change,
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in fact, then you look at the business press. Financial Times had a wonderful article in which they were, I don't know if it was intended to be ironic or not, they were quoting CEOs and others who were really euphoric about the success. This is a new model for how to project ourselves. We used to use the Reagan model, but now we can start using this model. But it's all just advertising. And what they're doing is carrying over from their commitment to undermine markets, carrying that over to a commitment to undermine democracy. democracy, but Lippmann and others knew better. Democracy understood as a danger. You have to keep the people out of things, and this is one of the ways to keep them out of it. And it works. So, for example, political science literature there's very good work done in academic political science on particular topics. One of the main ones is study of attitudes and policy. So there's a lot of very good work. The kind of gold standard right now is a book that just appeared, which Influence and Affluence it's called, which it does a detailed study of how public attitudes and public policy correlate. And what it concludes is, and I think pretty well establishes, is that if you just take income levels, the bottom 70% have no influence whatsoever on policy. So they're effectively disenfranchised. And as you move up the income level, you get somewhat more influence when you get to the very top. Basically, they get what they want. So what they're describing is a traditional plutocracy. And the goal of the commercial advertising and the advertising